Welcome to Pop Culture Roulette for all your pop culture needs. We're America's holliest, jolliest podcast. All right. Welcome everybody. I'm Nicholas. I am joined by you would think, knowing that we were going to record, that I would come up with something, but I feel like coming up with my my zingers is everybody's hard as
it's because all the research you're putting into these episodes.
Jeremy suffers on coming up with zingers for his. So welcome Jeremy. Welcome Justin.
Oh yeah.
All right. For those of you keeping track at home, I know that some of
Justin and
I know that some of you are keeping a spreadsheet at home. We are actually in person this episode, so go ahead and put a check mark in your appropriate location box that you are tracking.
Like number 6.
Yeah. I would say it's becoming less increasingly rare that we do this in person, but I feel like there's a good chance we're about to hit a stretch where we don't.
It's gonna be more. Don't worry.
Where we're not going to be in person for a while. So, all right. Well, before we get to the holly jolly part of this episode, hopefully you guys enjoyed our discussion on the reindeer. Hopefully that helped get you into. Did they
enjoy it?
I'm hoping they will have by the time we release this episode. That it's brought you into the spirit a little bit. Hopefully the end of this episode will bring you into the spirit a little bit more. But first, the Grinch that is Warner Brothers came to visit us this week, and boy howdy, is DC just shooting themselves in the foot every possible way they can. Wonder Woman 3 not moving forward.
Is that really a shot in the foot?
Man of Steel 2 canceled again. They are looking to cancel Aquaman after they release this next movie because they want Jason Momoa to be Lobo.
I heard Jeffrey Dean Morgan wants that role.
Black Adam 2 canceled. There would have been a new Michael Keaton Batman, also canceled.
Right.
So let's get into this a little bit. Obviously, I know at least 2 of us watched Wonder Woman 84. I don't know if no. Did you not watch it because me and Justin talked about how terrible it was?
I didn't watch it.
You didn't watch it?
No.
Oh, I thought you did.
No.
I'm kind of just fatigued in general on superheroes, but definitely that was a good reason, yeah.
Kind of what
After hearing someone say this fucking sucked for like an hour, I don't really need to watch it.
Yeah, I've hit that same superhero thing where I'm just kind of like, ah.
So Wonder Woman 84, or Wonder Woman 2, whatever you want to call it, was just god-awful. It was a mess. Reportedly, Patty Jenkins wrote the script for Wonder Woman 3. Brought it to the table, and they said, "You need to rewrite this. Here's a bunch of notes.
Here's a new script.
you need to take this back and rework it." And she said, "No, I'm not going to. This is what I want to do." And they were like, "Yeah, but you're going to." So she just quit. She walked away. So they were just like, "All right, I guess that means we're done. Like we're out." Like,
why don't we just write a script? We can't do any worse.
Well, apparently, reportedly, the script that she turned in was more problematic than the script they let her do for Wonder Woman 84. And see, this is where I'm getting conflicting reports and whatnot. I know that she didn't write Wonder Woman by herself, but she wrote Wonder Woman 2 by herself, or had a lot less help. So now I'm wondering how much of Wonder Woman was giving her credit and how much of it was somebody else. Because the first Wonder Woman movie was fantastic. It was really good. The second one was about as bad as you can get. Not fan four stick bad, but pretty bad. And then I guess she turned in a script to that same level, and they were like, "Listen, yeah, you almost killed us last time. We're not gonna let you do it again." And she, rather than go, "Okay, you're right, I did. The last one did suck," she stuck to her guns and quit.
Man, good for her for having the principle.
Yeah. Nice job, Patty.
Yeah.
But it
The
saves
movie
us.
might suck, but at least you're committed.
It saves us from.
Take pride in your shit, even if it is garbage.
So, but it does save us from having to see at least her version of Wonder Woman 3. Now, they've said it's shelved or it's been canceled, but that doesn't mean that Gal Gadot is done with the Wonder Woman character. It doesn't even mean we won't get Wonder Woman 3. It just means whatever current incarnation of what it was going to be is gone. Like, it's just off the table.
Good.
Man of Steel 2, like, anyone care that it was canceled again? Like,
No.
I didn't even know it was back on the table.
No.
Okay. Apparently, Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, really put. I have not seen Black Adam,
I haven't yet.
which should be, like, I am not tired of superheroes. I'm still deeply entrenched in them, even though you two are. But I didn't bother to go see Black Adam. I didn't care. Like, when it comes on HBO Max, I'll watch it.
I might then, but even like the last stuff, like when Thor came on Disney Plus, I still haven't watched that one.
But see, Thor is actually good, though.
Yeah, I've just been like, I'll probably get back to it. Superhero burnout's a real thing.
What do we think about? I mean, I know you said Jeffrey Dean Morgan wants it, but is that just market confusion canceling Aquaman to put Jason Momoa as Lobo?
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. They're both DC. You just leave him as Aquaman.
Right.
You can find someone else. Who did the voice in the old cartoon? Was Brad Garrett?
Well, I don't. Oh, Lobo?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember.
I think it was Brad Garrett, the brother from Everyone Loves Raymond.
Right. Okay. So
He
I
used to
did.
voice him.
I did that episode of Lude, the YouTube podcast, and I encountered a real person out in the wild, not one of the three of us who have very specific tastes, and I've kind of forced you two into my taste world anyway. So, I've always said that it is very confusing that the marketplace has like Grant Gustin as Flash and Ezra Miller as Flash, and like we've got Ben Affleck and Robert Pattinson as Batman, as now forget, because obviously we've moved on from Christian Bale, but it's market confusion. And some people, people who are more hardcore comic book nerds fans have said, "Oh no, it's not." And I ran into somebody who is a real person, and it did somewhat confuse him. I was trying to explain that what Elseworlds was and what the multiverse was, and like it was just, he's like, "I don't like it. It's just too confusing. Like, it's just bizarre. I don't want to get it." And it was sort of like
I don't want to understand.
Stop explaining it to me.
right, basically. To which I was like, I mean,
I'm getting there.
to which I was like, okay, I guess I've just always lived in this world where it makes sense to me. But I've always wondered because I've always said, like, well, we talked about it when we did the old Mockbuster episode, where Grandma got confused and bought Transmorphers instead of Transformers, and stuff like that. So Grandma goes to the store and there's a Grant Gustin Flash doll and an Ezra Miller. Well, there's probably not an Ezra Miller Flash doll anymore, but there would have been. And then whoever they hire, they've got Ben Affleck Batman and Robert Pattinson Batman and Kevin Conroy Batman.
Take the Kevin Conroy.
Well, but Grandma doesn't know.
How could you fuck this up so badly, Grandma?
Yeah.
Don't you know the difference? You
I
ruined Christmas.
Right.
Hope you get run over by a reindeer.
So I feel like if that's true, like, I mean, Now, granted, James Gunn doing Lobo, or James Gunn at least producing Lobo, very intriguing to me. I would love to see that because
Lobo?
Yeah.
He's like a bounty hunter.
I
Like,
guess
he's-
Jeffrey Dean Morgan would be good for this guy.
he's an intergalactic, basically biker.
Yeah, smart mouth bounty hunter.
Alright, who's this kid with the exploding chest?
Is that the new Lobo stuff?
Is that Lobo's daughter?
Yeah, it looks like it.
Oh yeah, Lobo's daughter.
Nice.
Yeah,
I could get into
Lobo.
that.
Lobo is kind of like, almost like a Deadpool, like just like a smart mouth, like kind of a dirtier,
Mm-hmm.
like people love him because he's bad, not because but he's not really bad. He's a bounty hunter, so he works for whoever pays him the most,
Yeah, he just has a bad attitude.
right.
And then, was it the new 52? Tried to make him like a younger version, and then just that one sucked.
The new 52 is just proof that DC doesn't know what it's doing.
I tried reading that stuff, and I was like, no, I can't do
Well,
it.
it's Infinite Crisis 2, Infinite Crisis Infinite, whatever they it's just DC doesn't learn from their own mistakes, and they keep repeating them. I know that a lot of writers complain about the Marvel method, but there's a reason that Marvel very rarely ever has to destroy the entire universe, or has never destroyed their entire universe and started over again. They might retcon something here or there to, update it, but they don't go, well, shit. We've got 6 different Batman operating right now. Let's blow up the universe so we only go back to 1.
Smart. They should have kept it with like they were doing with the TV series with Flash and Arrow. Kept those same characters, same cast.
Yeah, and they couldn't help themselves.
Nope.
They can't stop themselves from doing it in the books. They can't stop themselves from doing it in the movies. They can't stop themselves from doing it in TV.
Yeah, the TV series worked. Let's not follow it.
But the thing that kind of this would have been a bigger deal for Tony, so maybe we should have called him just for 5 minutes.
Get him on speaker.
Get him.
FaceTime him.
Apparently, they were planning on doing a live-action version or Batman Beyond inspired movie where Michael Keaton played his version of Bruce Wayne. This might have bring Jeremy back into it.
Mm-hmm.
The Michelle Pfeiffer version of Catwoman was supposed to be back in.
How old is she now? Like 60?
I don't know. She's over
80?
She's over in the Marvel world now. Anyway,
Yeah.
she's now in the Ant-Man movies. So
Oh, good for
Wasn't
her.
Michael Keaton over there too?
yeah,
Vulture.
Vulture. Yeah. So Marvel just keeps going.
You want
"Hey,
to do this? Well, we're taking this member.
we're gonna do this. No, you're not, because we took them. Yeah, that's right.
A 64-year-old Catwoman, that would have been fucking hot. Sorry, let's go. Let's keep going.
Marvel hears DC wants to do this, and they'll go get Michael Keaton. We'll find a role for him.
No, I don't know. It's just. So a lot of people are finally going. Maybe DC doesn't know what they're doing. It's a drum I've been beating.
They're
for
saying
years.
that now?
Yeah.
Have they been saying that
No,
at the
I've been
beginning?
saying that from the
People
beginning.
haven't?
Other people. There are still people online who are screaming about bring back the Snyderverse. Zack Snyder.
Gosh.
I don't. After the whole thing of how many bots Zack Snyder paid for to go out there and push for the hashtag release the Snyder cut, how people are still defending that, going he's great.
He paid for bots?
That's the report. He's trying to deny it, but there's enough evidence to say that that him or his company were behind the whole hashtag release the Snyder cut version.
Jeez.
I can't remember what it was. We talked about it a few months ago, where it was 25 or 40% of all tweets for hashtag release the Snyder cut were bought and paid for bots. It was not a. Basically, it came out that it was this was not an organic campaign. This was something that was manufactured and distributed. And DC has since talked about how they regret giving in to fan pressure and releasing the Snyder cut.
Why? Why do they regret it?
I think because part of it is I think that created a monster in the world. Because immediately after they got the Snyder Cut, they're like, well, we won. And if we can do that, what else can we do? And they started release the Ayer cut of the first Suicide Squad movie.
Uh-huh.
And do this and do that. And, like, I mean, now with, like, Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah.
Like, fans were right to be like, what the hell is that?
Mm-hmm.
Same with that one. What is X-Men Apocalypse? Where
Yeah.
he looked like Ivan Ooze from Power Rangers.
Yeah, but at least that one you can argue that they just released promo material too early, and it was just unfinished CGI that they were.
That was bad.
But yeah, I mean, granted, it didn't make the movie any better. The movie still sucked.
It did.
But the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, like, I don't know if fixing his look from the original trailer to what we got made it a better movie. Because I mean, that movie, both that one and the sequel, are far better than they deserve to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
I haven't seen the sequel.
it's not as good as the first one, but it's still it's fun.
Yeah.
In fact, we got a really you both. I know you watched the Chippendale Rescue
Mm-hmm.
Ranger movie. We got a really good Sonic the Hedgehog joke out of.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
That was a good one.
So I don't know. I mean, I do get the point of, like, if all of the fans are saying you need to stop this, it needs to not happen, and giving in to the fans and saying, okay, let's do it, let's fix it, make it right, is the way to go. But at the same time, I understand where they're coming from of, like, every time, like, if a majority of the fans actually like it, but there's a small, super vocal minority that, like, that don't, like, maybe we don't acquiesce to them as often.
Yeah.
And I think now that you've got a major example of the fan pressure giving into it and releasing it and not really making near the waves or the financial gain that they thought they were going to, Well, Marvel fell for... Well, not Marvel. Sony fell for it when social media decided to really turn Morbius into a joke, and Sony didn't understand that it became a joke, and they re-released it in the theaters.
Yeah.
And it lost even more money than it had already... Because they're like, oh, people really want to see Morbius. They legitimately just didn't get a chance the first time. And it's like, no, we didn't go see it the first time because we didn't want to. Releasing it a second time in the theaters isn't going to make us want to see it anymore.
I saw it in theaters the first time.
I finally broke down and watched it when it, I watched it when it was streaming, and it was just disappointing. Is the word is the review that I would give it.
It's Morven time.
Because I like Jared Leto. I know that might be controversial to say. I don't know. I mean, I know a lot of people don't like him. I like 30 Seconds to Mars. I think they're a really good band. I think most of the time Jared Leto he makes choices in a movie, but I do enjoy him. I like Matt Smith a lot. I'm a Doctor Who fan, and he's one of my favorite Doctor Who's. But the movie was just trash. It was just awful.
So you're saying Jared Leto needs to stay away from comic book movies?
I don't think his Joker was bad. I don't think his Joker was given the opportunity to really prove himself as Joker. I'm not against releasing the Ayer cut because it's supposedly... an hour of basically Joker footage. But at the same time, it's like, we've already moved on. Just get over it. Like,
Yeah.
We've already got another Suicide Squad movie and the Peacemaker series out of it. Like, it's time to forget about it and move on. And if they're not going to acquiesce with hashtag release the butthole cut.
Butthole cut.
Who's
butthole?
Of the Cats, of that movie Cats.
Oh, yeah.
There's supposedly a version of the movie with the animations a little different.
Nice.
And the joke has always been that they had given all of the cats, buttholes.
So like that tiger, that
Yeah, that Lego tiger.
Oh boy.
To which I say, I don't know if that cut really exists, because I don't think that any animator worth their salt would have been like, we should animate buttholes on Drake and Taylor Swift and Rebel Wilson and James Corden and
Why not?
There's only one of those people I think it's worth.
yeah, I know how much you like Drake.
Yeah, I do love Drake.
So yeah.
And Drake's cakes.
Yeah. Was there anyone? No, we talked about it all. That was the DC, James Gunn. James Gunn's come in and he's shaken up the DC world, basically. Like him and Peter Sarafan have been. They're like, listen, we got to break some. They're quoting classic Jack Nicholson. Sometimes you got to break some eggs to make an omelet.
All right.
Huh?
And they said, we're gonna upset some people, but that's the only way we're gonna get this right and fix it. Is that some of this shit's got to go. I mean,
Apparently a lot of it.
we have to admit that some of it was shit, and
Take the laxative, get it all out your system.
Yeah. Good.
all right. So did anybody watch anything this week worth talking about?
I watched the movie Black Phone.
Nice.
Oh, I've wanted to see that. Is it
It's good.
okay?
It's on Peacock.
Yes, I just keep forgetting to watch.
Yeah, it's worth a watch. Pretty suspenseful. It's you kind of see what's coming, but it's still good.
Sweet.
Takes place in like the 70s, I think.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched some Shark Tank on on NBC, and I played Donkey Kong Country 3. That's all I did.
Nice.
True to form, I watched a bunch of episodes of The Monsters. Yesterday, I watched Halloween, the 2018 version. So I guess something somewhat modern. Then I watched Cabin Boy,
Cabin Boy.
the early 90s. Oh, Chris Elliott. It's so cheesy. He's a fancy lad.
All right.
He's some sort of high upper crust, highfalutin kind of guy, and it's so stupid. But I remember having watched it when it came out in like '94, so it would have been in high school. But there was a line where he comes out of a cave and he goes, "These pipes are clean," and I for whatever reason was like, I must watch this movie again.
You're not doing a good job of selling it to
I'm
me.
not trying to sell it.
No.
Who's in it? It's Chris Elliott.
I mean, I like Chris Elliott, so that helps.
It's bizarre, Chris. I mean, it is the early '90s weird, like Get a Life, Chris Elliott. Who else? Brian Doyle Murray. The coach from Major League 1 and 2.
Okay.
There's a bunch of it's one of the only weird cameos or roles in which David Letterman didn't play himself in a movie. Hey, you want to buy a monkey? I'm not suggesting you watch this movie by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm not suggesting that you don't watch it. I had to watch it on a streamer called Hoopla, which you need a library card for. I don't know if there's another one, but because when I think borrowing movies and books from the library, it's often quality like Cabin Boy.
Right.
That's the first time I watched Blazing Saddles. We rented it from the library.
Yeah, but see, that's actual quality.
I think I was like 10.
Well, you probably shouldn't have watched the movie.
Maybe 11.
That's a little too young to be watching that movie.
Explains my humor right there.
The library was my first exposure to all the Ernest movies, so really have to thank them for that.
They made us the sick individuals we are.
Yeah.
Thanks, public library.
We talked about it last year, but when's the last time you watched Ernest Saves Christmas?
Well, it's been a long time.
A long time.
I rewatched it. I think Disney Plus has it.
I have no idea.
One of the streamers have it, and I watched it last year. I mean, no, it's an Ernest movie, so you know that going in. So I can't say that it holds up, but at the same time, like, I don't know if it was ever good.
Yeah.
But it's still Ernest, so you know it's fun.
Yeah.
You know? It's exactly what you expect out of an Ernest movie. Then I watched another 80s movie with John Cusack called Hot Pursuit. Because heaven forbid I watch anything modern. We should have a discussion, probably not on a Christmas episode, about the Halloween franchise.
All right.
Now that I'm getting further and further into having watched almost all of it now.
All right.
Maybe-
See you
maybe-
in October 2023.
Maybe by then I will have watched all of them, because I do find it really fascinating where you're just like, we've backed ourselves into a corner, let's restart it. We like that one,
Yeah.
so let's just... Those are canon, the rest of them are garbage, we're starting over again, and then at some point they could be like, well, those are all garbage, we like these, we'll go...
Yeah.
Like, just alternate timeline it. Just, you know... I would love to see a Michael Myers, like, Michael Myers verse where all the various different Michael Myers, like, meet up with each other.
That'd be fun. Yeah.
Because there's, like, five separate timelines. Although one of them doesn't have Mike Myers.
Right.
I haven't seen them.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll get them watched by next Halloween.
Perfect.
All right. That you've got between now and October to watch 11 movies. So
I can do one a month.
yeah, barely. I mean, 1 month you might have to watch like 2, but
That sounds like a lot of work.
all right. Did you bring any Death Watch for us? I mean, I know that's your
No,
no.
not that I remember seeing.
Okay, all right.
Kick the bucket, Justin.
Who kicked the bucket?
Alexa, which celebrity died this week? Oh, that
too
wasn't
soon.
this week, you crazy bitch.
All right.
She's not gonna stop until she names every celebrity that died. Alexa, stop. This is old news.
This is old. There's our segment of Alexa presents.
The old celebrity
Who
deaths.
died?
So last week we talked about Santa's reindeer because, you know, when you hear the reindeer, you know that means he's on the way. But there's at least one other character that it comes to mind when you think of Santa. When you think of his right hand, right? It's not man, but right hand individual, his helper, his confidant, his
Helper.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to be reduced to just that.
her
What era do you think this is?
well, we got a lot to cover.
This is my helper.
His
Helper.
well, I mean,
No. Okay.
Yeah, you go home and see how that works. You're
Yeah.
my helper.
Well, I mean, and he's her help. I mean, it's kind of I mean,
Okay, then it's a mutual thing.
it's a mutual
All right,
thing.
All
All
right.
right. We're going to
Right.
talk about Mrs. Claus.
Yeah.
All
So
This is a very short list we got this week.
yeah, it's
Yeah. Unless we start getting into some the other movies that they made about Mrs. Claus. that-
Well, I don't think we're going to talk about those documentaries. All right, so the first known reference to Mrs. Claus is in 1849, a story by James Reese called A Christmas Legend, but she is only referred to as Santa's wife. In 1851, in the Yale Literary Magazine, which I know we're all subscribers to.
Uh-huh.
No, I canceled my subscription.
Oh, did you? A story about Santa at a Christmas party. She's referred to for the first time as Mrs. Claus.
Wow.
So slowly over time, the classic form took shape, but essentially it was just story writers making her match Santa. You know, the red. I mean, he went from green to red. She went from green to red. You know, the cape, the general frumpiness. You know, the gray hair. But that was the original Mrs. Claus. Now, as time progressed, we got different Miss Clauses who were not frumpy.
She
Fit. From
she
frumpy
found
to fit.
The stair climber.
There is, however, quite the debate over what her actual first name is. In 1970, the first appearance in the movies of Mrs. Claus was actually Santa Claus Conquers the Martian in 1864 or 1964.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That one beat the first appearance on TV by about 3 weeks when she was in Rudolph. But in 1970, so a couple years later, Santa Claus is Coming to Town, that Rankin and Bass special.
Mm-hmm.
She is referred to as Jessica something before she becomes Mrs. Claus, so her first name is Jessica.
Yeah.
In 2002, the Santa Claus franchise gives us Carol. A random website called YesSantaIsReal.com referred to her as Holly.
Oh, of course.
2022, that Mel Gibson movie, which we talked about last year, but I would recommend it, Fat Man.
Yeah.
Her name is Ruth.
Okay.
1985, Santa Claus the movie. She's Anya.
Anya Claus.
2007, in Fred Claus, you get Annette. 2011, Arthur Christmas, you get Margaret. 96, there was a TV musical called Mrs. Santa Claus where Angela Lansbury played the character.
Nice.
She was Anna. The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, which I didn't get an exact year for, but it can't be that long ago. She was Nancy and also a vampire.
Yep.
Awesome.
So there's no real consensus as to what her first name is. There's even, I don't know, have either of you started watching Santa Claus the series yet?
I don't think I'm going to be jumping into that one.
Okay. I mean, it's enjoyable. I mean, it's they introduced the idea of a, not a multiverse, but like, they kind of flipped the script on what happened in the first movie in the series,
All right.
where they kind of reframe what happened.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't change what happened, but it kind of changes how it happened.
Mm-hmm.
So they introduced some interesting concepts, and because it's happening right now, I don't necessarily want to spoil it for.
That's okay. You could spoil.
Yes.
For the audience, it's fine. I mean, if they don't want to hear it, but I don't care.
All right.
I mean,
where was I going with all of that? Oh, now I don't remember what I was saying.
Santa Claus, Mrs. Claus.
Mrs. Claus. So there's no real consensus as to what her first name is. I mean, with Santa himself, it's always pretty much been Nicholas, or occasionally Kris Kringle, but but very rarely, like, it's not like the guy, they're like, his name was Doug.
Doug. This is Doug.
This is Doug.
Mrs. Claus is 227 years old. And her favorite Christmas song is Silent Night. I don't know
Interesting.
how the people could possibly know that. Yes, Santa's real, but...
All right, so from the very earliest appearance of the character, she was generally just the supportive helper of Santa. The encourager when things get rough, and keeping Santa fed at her best. Most often depicted as the leader of the elves and the head baker, but it is clear that without her dedicated work, Santa would be lost. Over time, as the characters become more fleshed out and we know more about her, she has become as clearly as equal as the big man himself. So there.
Yeah.
There you go.
Does that fix how I started it?
That fixes
It does.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. She's evolved from helper to equal.
Right.
I like it.
Because without her, Santa really couldn't do anything. I mean, think about Jerk Santa and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Mm-hmm.
He's just too busy worried about other things, and she's like, "You need to eat. We don't want a skinny Santa.
Yeah, yeah.
Stop being a jerk."
Yeah.
All right. So, what is your favorite Mrs. Claus?
All right, Jeremy, you can start us off here.
Wow. Jeez. Let me just pull up my list here.
All right. How about you, Nicholas, then?
All
if
right,
Jeremy's
my favorite
working on his
one.
list?
I did struggle to come up with a list because, like, like I don't really like the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Special. I mean, maybe I did when I was a kid, but now I don't. So I went with the first one. I went with Elizabeth Mitchell from the Santa Claus franchise.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to go with the Mrs. Claus cameo from The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Okay. The first one I put was Max from Two Broke Girls, played by Kat Dennings.
Okay.
When they get the job at the mall being the elves, and she gets promoted to Mrs. Claus.
All right.
Can't go wrong with Kat Dennings as
No,
Miss Claus.
That is true. I was having it's same thing with the reindeer as with Miss Claus. I was having a real hard time doing research because I would type in like list of appearances by Miss Claus on TV specials, and they wouldn't say it. Like they would just be like they would only be like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Santa Claus is coming to town, a year without Santa Claus. And I was like, no, I want to know like did Lucy dress like Mrs. Claus? Did Max dress like like characters like that? Nobody had that list.
That one I just remember. I was like,
Okay.
yeah.
Mrs. Claus always getting shafted.
Whoa.
Those are those documentaries you were referring to earlier.
Kat Dennings. Anywho,
Yeah.
Nicholas.
Goldie Hawn from the Christmas Chronicles 1 and 2.
All right. Haven't watched them. You said they were worth a watch.
They're fun.
Okay.
I mean, they're not as good as like Christmas Story or Christmas Vacation, but they're enjoyable.
All right. I wrote. Are you going?
Whoa.
Oh, okay.
Don't skip me.
Okay, I won't skip you.
My next one is The Great Adventure of Mrs. Santa Claus by Sarah Addington and Gertrude A.K. from 1923. It's a piece of literature. I read it, but don't ask me too much about it.
You have to use your imagination.
It's a book, though, about Santa Claus's main squeeze as the main character, so I think you're really going to dig it.
All right.
All right.
I did write down Nancy Claus from Billy and Mandy,
Okay.
where she's the head of the vampires, and that episode aired on December 2nd, 2005.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that one kept coming up. Like I did find multiple lists of like strangest appearances by Mrs. Claus, and that was on like every list or like.
I think in that one she's like 300 years old, and she's
Yeah,
a vampire. Santa's a vampire.
Yeah, that part was weird, but
I have to rewatch that episode. I do vaguely remember it.
I remember the few times I've watched Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. I really like it. Mandy makes me laugh.
It's a weird show.
It's a very weird show. All right, so for my third one, and I don't have any honorable mentions this time, so I was hoping that you guys would come through with some stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I put Marianne Jean-Baptiste from Fat Man.
Okay.
All right.
Because, anytime you get to see Miss Claus, toting a gun and killing some bad guys.
Nice. Yeah, that's always a good time.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Mrs. Claus from a Boost Mobile ad where she was in bed with a snowman.
Oh, that one was also on the research, but apparently that made people very angry.
Yeah.
And they pulled the ad.
Yeah. So
I imagine it's on YouTube somewhere.
Probably.
yeah, there was some posted online somewhere. So
All right.
all right.
The only other one I put was, because I had to do some research on these, I put Katy Perry
Ooh.
dresses as Mrs. Claus for her music video Cozy Little Christmas.
Okay.
I don't really know what the song is or anything, but
I can definitely see where your list tends to lean towards.
What the fuck? She dresses as a tree too. That's awesome.
It's my favorite tree. I mean,
yeah. And then the only honorable mention I put down was Miss Claus from the 2018 horror film by the same name.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool.
there was a 2018 horror film called Mrs. Claus.
Yes. I guess they're at like frat party or something, and someone dies, and then it's like an evil spirit dressed as Miss Claus is killing them.
Cool.
Yeah.
Look at that. That's awesome.
There. If you can see his screen.
Oh, that's right. I did actually come across that on the research. I'm just remembering it now.
Yeah. Didn't watch it. Watched the trailer, and I was like, this looks interesting, because I did not a whole lot popped into my head on this topic. Except for Max, Kat Dennings.
Bob Rivers recorded a parody of the soul song Me and Mrs. Jones entitled Me and Mrs. Claus on his 2002 album White Trash Christmas. So there's another reference. I'm very familiar with White Trash
White
Christmas.
Trash Christmas.
Are you? Or
That's like been every one of my Christmases.
Yeah, he had, what is it, the redneck reindeer?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that is true. Yeah.
So he has his stuff there.
White Trash. Is White Trash going
Leroy the redneck reindeer.
Yeah. Will that ever be an offensive term in our lifetime? White trash?
Depends who you ask, I guess.
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, I don't really know.
I kind of embrace it. Like,
All right, well then.
if you're white trash and you... you have more? It's 40 minutes in.
And you make pizza sandwiches.
No, I don't have any more. I when I had the idea of coming up with all these topics, like I really expected there to be a lot more.
Well,
Like,
what is there to say about Mrs. Claus?
that's what I was hoping the internet had a lot more about.
Santa couldn't do it without her.
Yeah?
I mean,
There's that. We could say that for like the next 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I was really...
Poor lady, he only comes once a year.
Oh. What are they doing together for the other 364 days?
I assume they are...
Bossing around elves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do
I
they
don't know,
get
they-
paid? Do they pay the elves?
I mean, they get free room and board, and they get to live for hundreds of years.
Is that really a trade-off?
I don't know. Next year, when we talk about the elves, we'll talk about whether or not
boy.
they get paid.
Top pop culture elves.
Oh, boy.
Oh, welcome back, guys. We're pulling some more Christmas magic out for you.
Pulling something out.
I mean, next year we'll do like Krampus and La Befana and elves. I guess I don't know. I say that, but
La
don't
Befana.
hold me to it because there's a good chance since I didn't write it down, I won't remember.
True.
Just appreciate all the episodes that you get. Just be happy.
Yeah.
Each take one week at a time and just be happy this season that we gave you a Mrs. Claus one.
Works for me.
That's a good message, isn't it?
Right.
Because you never know. You just have to appreciate the gifts you have.
It is.
Don't worry about La Befana and Krampus yet.
Yet.
And any future endeavors, because the Christmas season is all about appreciating the now and all about who you're with. How much longer? Okay. 12 more minutes.
12 more minutes of Jeremy's inspirational thoughts.
Well, hit us up on Facebook, Instagram. You can follow us on Twitter. Just know that we're not using it very well. Hit us. Follow. Go over to Media Pod Smash. Do some
Buy
join
Jeremy a cup of coffee.
Who cares?
And inspirational Jeremy has left.
Oh, God. Wait, there's more, guys. And the Simpsons tapped out. Mrs. Claus actually made an appearance in that game, too.
Is that the old video game?
The mobile phone game.
Oh yeah, that's the one. Like that one in Futurama. Like I was like, oh great, and then like a couple minutes into it, I'm like, oh, like the only way to really do anything successfully with this game, you have to spend more money. Fuck it, I'm out.
Yeah. I hate mobile games.
Yeah.
Such a
What about that
racket.
baseball one we used to play?
Oh, what was that?
I don't remember.
9 innings.
Yeah, that one was
Yeah.
fun, where you get the packs of cards with the different players.
Yeah.
That was a good game.
And that was one of the rare ones that you didn't have to pay. I mean, you could buy packs, couldn't you, if you wanted to, but you didn't really have to.
Yeah, you didn't have to.
And they'd license fucking players. Wow.
Yeah, they
Fun
licensed players, but they didn't license the logos.
Yeah, that was weird.
It cost extra.
Yeah.
Figure it would have been cheaper to license the logos than the players themselves.
You just misspell.
Yeah.
You just misspell one letter in their name, and it's fine.
Yeah. Sorny.
Yeah.
In Temple Run 2, Mrs. Claus was also in it as a celebration for the holidays, and she popped up as a cameo.
Okay.
Yeah. Remember Temple Run?
No.
Oh, it's like,
Another game where you go left and right, can only go left to right.
they have it at Dave and Buster's too, like an arcade version now. Yeah.
That'd be fun to do again.
Dave and Buster's?
Yeah,
Yeah.
little,
Dave and
little pricey, but fun.
Yeah, Dave and Buster's is fun to go occasionally.
Bob Rishi recorded a parody of Stacy's mom called Mrs. Claus.
Has got it going on.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. I wonder who Mrs. Claus is in that one. Magic?
Must that be a very popular song because... Oh, it's at the very bottom here.
Ah, boy, Jeremy.
Mrs. Claus has got it going on. Santa's been looking over his naughty list. Yeah, it's about what you would expect. Santa, do you remember when I fixed your sleigh? Your wife came out in just her red and white lingerie. I could tell she liked me, and it really showed. Or that could have been because it was 40 below. And so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So, Mrs. Claus has got it going on. And then who could forget the classic adult novel, Breeding Mrs. Claus? There's that one.
What?
Okay.
Yeah. Guess you guys must have not read that one.
No, that never popped up in my research.
Well, with your Hoopla card, maybe you can check that one out from the library.
I'm gonna go ahead and assume the library doesn't have that title. Who knows though? The
Maybe.
library has weird stuff, so
Sometimes.
they could have it.
Yeah. All right.
I got nothing.
Well,
All right then. Man, you would think like knowing. It's like every time I go on 80s Flick Flashback, like I know what he's gonna ask me because I know the questions. You know, I've done it enough times now that I would actually think to go, oh yeah, that's right, but I don't every time. So I know how I'm going to end the show. You'd think I'd take the time to come up with an ending, but I don't. So I guess just remember that stupid never walks alone.
uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Good thing that candle wasn't lit.
That would have sucked. Bonus content. Top 5 favorite snowmen from around the world. Just kidding.